Hello there. Welcome to Glass with a Class. I'm June Anderson, and I'm happy to welcome you to our little corner of the depression glass world. We'll see some glass and have a tiny English lesson. Today we're going to learn a wee bit about Vitrock. This is an opaque glass with fired-on colors. It was manufactured by the Hocking Glass Company from 1934 to 1937. So the time frame was short. A couple of patterns are flower rim and Lake Como. I don't have a piece of flower rim, but I do have one of Lake Como, and I just think it's really different and so pretty, and I'd like to have more pieces. The problem is that according to my Jean Florence book, only 13 different pieces were made, and they're hard to come by. 14 pieces if you count the salt and pepper as 2 pieces. They made 3 different bowls, 2 different cups, 2 different saucers, a creamer, sugar, 2 different plates, a platter, and salt and pepper. It has a fired-on scene of a lake and a flower border, usually in blue and white, although sugar and creamers were also made in red and white. Vitrock was also made in kitchenware, including mixing bowls, measuring cups, and reamers, which many people refer to as juicers. One problem with Lake Como is that the blue or red picture rubbed off with use. Sometimes if you do find a piece of Lake Como, it's worn, but people buy them anyway just to have the piece in their collection. I was fortunate in finding one that's in very good condition. Another example of Vitrock with fired-on color is visible on my number 6 video, which featured oyster and pearl. I had 2 candlesticks that had the white Vitrock with fired-on pink. These pieces are lovely and different, and I like different. Okay, little Lake Como, sugar bowl. Take a seat over here while we discuss today's English lesson, which focuses on the pronunciation of ought. Sometimes when people mean to say someone should do something, they say the person ought to do something. For instance, you ought to put on a coat. You could just as easily say you should put on a coat. Either way is fine. The problem is that some folks mispronounce ought by saying ought. You ought to put on a coat, which is not how ought should be pronounced. Ought should rhyme with bought or brought or caught. It should not rhyme with sort or fort. You ought to go to work, not you ought to go to work. Easy peasy. Ought, not ought. But did you know that ought is a real word? It's just not ought. Ought is actually a scrap or remainder of food from a meal. For instance, you might say, "Give that little dog an ought from the table." Well, here's a sentence using ought from the Bible. It's from Romans chapter 15, verse 1, which says, "We then that are strong ought to bear the infirmities of the weak, and not to please ourselves." We really should, shouldn't we? We ought to. Well, that's today's episode. I hope you'll come back next time. In the meantime, please subscribe and share this video with others. And I'd love for you to comment below. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.